Before we get started, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel, like and share the video. It also helps to overcome some of the YouTube algorithm shadow banning my content. I really appreciate it, guys. Guys, in this video, I wanted to take a few minutes to show you some of the similarities and differences between the Glock 45 on the left and the Glock 19x here on the right. This is a video that some of you guys, I'm sure, if you are trying to decide between one of these two firearms, might be a little bit beneficial to you. For the most part, guys, when the Glock 19x came out, as most of you all are aware, it was the one that Glock submitted for the military handgun program. The only difference between this gun and the one that they submitted was that this one does not have the manual safety, which was something that the military had asked for. When Glock did not get the contract, they released these to the civilian market, which, you know, I'm glad they did in many ways, because we have a very good firearm that we can pick up. Now, shortly after the 19x came onto the market, there were a lot of folks, many in law enforcement as well as others, that wanted to get this type of a platform to where we have the Glock 17 sized frame and the grip length with the Glock 19 sized slide. That's basically what this gun is. And when it came out, very popular on the civilian market, and then immediately there were calls for people wanting it in black. And basically that's what the Glock 45 is. Of course, this is a 9mm as well. You know, both the 19x as well as the Glock 45, even though the name says 45, it is a 9mm handgun. Really the only differences between these two guns, which we are going to get into some detail, obviously the color. You know, this is a factory coloring from Glock. I really love the peanut butter look, as I've heard a lot of people call it. You know, I think that is just an appropriate name for that. It's just a great looking gun, in my opinion. And for the most part, these guns are identical, except for the coloring. However, there are a few other differences in them that we're going to point out. Now, size-wise, they are identical. I mean, it is the exact same gun, both in the length of the slide as well as the grip. Now, looking at the grip, of course, I've got a couple of magazines in here. Let's just go ahead and get these mags out for a minute, because there are some things I want to show you. And this is where some of the differences are. Of course, the 19x, you do get a lanyard ring that comes with the gun. And one of the drawbacks of this, and I'm not real sure why Glock did it, is this little dongle area, this little area that sticks down on the front of that grip on the 19x. That is something I don't really understand why Glock did that on these guns. Maybe someone could let me know down in the comments below, and if you could tell me exactly why they decided to put this on them. That is one of the negatives with the Glock 19x when it comes to the magazines. With that little piece that sticks off of the front, one thing you cannot do is you cannot take the Gen 5 Glock magazines and use them, you know, from like the Glock 45 or the Glock 17, because that base plate will hit that little thing that's sticking down, that little dongle thing or whatever you want to call it that sticks down, and will not let that magazine fully insert. I know, I'm sure that someone is out there going to say, well, you can just cut that off. Yes, I could. No problem whatsoever. That would come right off very easily with some basic tools. But I'm not going to do that. I would simply just buy either a Gen 4 mag, or I would simply buy some others that were designed for this gun. You know, no problem whatsoever. I just do not really want to go cutting on this. I like the way that it is as it is. You know, that's one thing about it. Of course, it does have a little bit of a curve there that kind of helps to push your hand up underneath that trigger guard where it needs to be. But at the same time, on the Glock 45, there's a little bit of a flare there as well that does the same thing. It kind of helps to push that hand high on that grip to where you're going to be underneath that trigger guard the way that you need to be. Really, the only other thing that is different about these guns, the weight. I think there is like about a ½ an ounce different in weight between these guns. It's a very minute amount. Of course, the sights. This gun came with the traditional Glock sights, those plastic sights that a lot of folks do not like. They're easily replaceable. I replaced mine with a set of the XS Big Dots, as you can see here. If you are interested in a set of sights like these off of their website, use code Boomstick and save yourself just a little bit. These are my favorite sight for defensive handguns. I think that they work very well. You can also check down in the description below. Now, the 19X came with a 3-dot night sight. This is a decent sight, and it is a metal sight, okay? Straight from the factory, straight from Glock. You're not having to rely on using a plastic sight on this gun. Literally right out of the box, it comes with a metal sight. So that is a big plus for the 19X over the 45. Okay, the Glock 45. Again, though, guys, it's very easy to switch these out, which is exactly what I did here. The other differences, as I'd point out, the base plate, you know, that little area there. The magazine for the 19X works perfect in the 45. It even looks good, you know, no problem. Works fine. Again, it's basically a Glock 17 magazine. The mags that you get with it, of course, with both of these, you're going to get 3 mags. With the 19X, you're actually going to get a couple of the higher capacity ones compared to the Glock, where you're just going to get the standard 17 round. In our free states, the free parts of this country, you folks out there that are in the more communist states, I think you're limited to the 10 round, and that's even if you can get these. I know there's some weird rules as far as which ones you all can get and which ones you cannot. Let me know down in the comments below. But guys, for the most part, that is pretty much the majority of the similarities and differences. Let's look at the triggers. Let's take a minute to look at the triggers on each of these guns, okay? Just to make sure that we are unloaded. As you guys can see, nothing in the gun, nothing in the chamber. I'm sure someone would be up in arms if I did not do that. Okay, the trigger is typical Glock. You have the take up, you will hit that wall about right there, and then you will push through that wall. Okay, just that little bit of sponginess in the Glock triggers that we're all familiar with. The reset is approximately right there. Okay, great, just a typical Glock trigger. Now the G45, now one note that I want to make is I do have a lot more rounds through my 19X than I do my 45. Okay, that is something that I wanted to make a special mention about, because the more you shoot your guns, they're going to loosen up a little bit. You know, if you are into the shooting sports, and if you have a few favorite guns out there that you shoot regularly, you're going to know that they loosen up. But typically, the Glock 45, we have that same sponginess right there till we hit that wall, and then we build pressure till the trigger breaks. The reset is approximately right there, okay? Typical Glock trigger. Love them, hate them, whatever you think, that's up to you. You know, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. For me, I don't have any problem with the Glock trigger because these guns serve a specific purpose. And, you know, of course, if you go back and check out some of the videos that I have with my Glocks, you will see that I don't have any issues shooting them. You know, are there better triggers out there? Yes, there are. There's a lot of guns out there that have the better trigger than what the Glock does. You know, everybody tries to copy the trigger from the 1911. That seems to be what everybody wants to do. But for the purposes of this gun, for what it was designed to do, that trigger is very workable. Okay, again, are there other striker fired pistols out there with better triggers? Yes, but this works fine. You know, there's a lot of folks out there, and that's something that I want to mention. There's a lot of folks out there, when they talk about Glocks, they buy a Glock, change everything in the gun, and then complain that it's not working right. No, the gun works fine. It's just you put a bunch of junky parts in it thinking that you were going to make it work better. Glocks are designed to do a very basic thing, and that is to reliably shoot bullets. Okay, that's what these guns were designed to do. That is exactly what they do, and they do it well. Do they do everything perfect? No. Again, they do not have that perfect trigger, but they do have a decent trigger for the most part. Now, you can get differences in the Glock triggers right out of the box. That is something that everyone knows. Everyone that's familiar with Glocks knows that the triggers on these guns can be a little inconsistent. Even with mine right now, the trigger on this one is slightly lighter. Of course, it is a Gen 5 trigger, but as I mentioned earlier, I have a lot more rounds through this gun than I do my G45, okay? At least at this point. You know, eventually, I'm sure I will get that same round count through there. This is already loosened up a little bit more than what this one has. I do not have the round count through it yet. But guys, that is some of the similarities, some of the differences between these two guns. If you are in the market trying to decide, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to help you. I have both of these guns. I plan on keeping both of them. I enjoy shooting both of them. I actually carry these guns. These are guns that I will carry. Sometimes I carry the brown. Sometimes I will carry the black. It just really depends on the mood I'm in for that day. But guys, this is just a quick comparison that I wanted to do. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Which is your favorite? Do you like the traditional black or do you like the peanut butter? Let me know down below. Of course, there again, guys, who's not a fan of chocolate and peanut butter? Okay, you put them together. That's what you do. But guys, thanks for watching. Check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Be sure to subscribe, like the video, share the video, check out all the links down below, and we'll see you next time.